our topic is all about the RA 550, the Philippine Fishery Code of 1998. So the RA 9550, so the Philippine Fishery Code of 1998 was approved. It was approved in February 25, 1988. It is an act that provides that the development, management, and conservation of fishery and aquatic resources of the Philippines in the reconstitution of the establishment of fishery of institution, both in national and local fishery. So the RA 9550 is, ang sulod niya is an act na nag-provide siya sa development and management and conservation of the fishery and aquatic resources sa tuwang nasod. And next is we will talk about the Philippine policy on fishery and aquatic resources, which is the first is to achieve food security as the overriding consideration in the utilization, management, development, conservation, and protection of fishery resources in order to provide for the food needs of the population. So this policy is to achieve food security and consideration in the utilization of management and development and conservation and protection sa to ang fishery resources in order to provide sa to ang needs sa itong population. So kani siya is nag-focus sa food security, which is ma-maintain na to nga naatay supply nga makuha and dili siya to ang ginakuha ang supply sa to ang aquatic resources is for our needs only of the population, kung unsa lang tong kinahanglan sa population na to. And second is to limit access to the fishery and aquatic resources of the Philippines for the exclusive use and enjoyment of Filipino citizens. So dili ni siya ang nakalimit ng access ani is for the fishery aquatic resources para lang sa tuwa, kumbaga sa Pilipino lang siya. And next is what do we mean by fishery? Saan na fishery? So fishery refers to all activity referring to the act or business fishing, culturing, preserving, processing, marketing, developing, conserving, and managing aquatic resources and the fishery area, including the privilege to fish or to take aquatic resources from it. So muna ang minsa fishery, nagakuan siya sa business of fishing, culturing, preserving, naga-process, market, develop, conserve, naga-manage, nagakuha, kumbaga mangisda. Mas dali na term is mangisda. So next is aquatic resources. What do we mean by aquatic resources? It includes the fish, all other aquatic flora and fauna, and living organism of the aquatic environment, including but not limited to salt and coral. So mga aquatic resources na is the mga plants nga mabuhi sa tubig sa tuang aquatic environment, and that is flora, and fauna is about the all living organism nga mabuhi sa tubig sa tuang aquatic environment. And next is food security. What do we mean by food security? It refers to any plan, policy, strategy aimed to ensuring adequate and appropriate food, affordable prices. Food security may be achieved through the sufficient, example, ensuring adequate food supply. So kani siya is food security by means of ginasecure nila nga naatay supply sa to ang aquatic resources, dili ta mahukdan and dili ta mawadan. Mao na ilang focus is secure nila nga dili maabuso ang pagkuha sakto lang ilang ginakuha sa itong mga fisher folk na to, and kanang para lang sa kanang limit ginasunodtud sila, and which is matakal na to na next is Next is to ensure the rational and sustainable development, management, and conservation of fishery and aquatic resources in the Philippines waters, including the exclusive economic zone in the adjacent basin. So, gina-ensure nila ang rational, sustainable development, management, and conservation. So, sa atong aquatic resources here in Philippines. So, including sa economic zone. And next is to protect the rights of fisher folks, especially of the local communities, with priority to municipal fisher folk in the preferential use of municipal water. So, ang RA 8550 is dili lang siya about sa management, conservation, processing, also ganang ginaprotect nila ang rights sa mga fisher folk. Next is to provide support to the fisher sector, primarily to municipal fisher folk, including women and youth sector, through appropriate technology and research, adequate financial production, construction, post-harvest facility, marketing assistance, and other services. So, nag-provide sila support sa itong fishery sector, primarily katong nag-focus sa mga women and youth sectors, katong nag-ano sa technology, research, adequate financial production, no, ginatagaan sila financial para sa construction ng sa tuwang harvest facility, mga kagamitan sa tuwang fisher folk. And next is to grant the private sector the privilege to utilize the fishery resources under the basic concept that the grantee licensee and permittee their action not be only be a privilege and also be a beneficiary of the state, but also active participant and partner of the government and conservation and protection of fishery and aquatic resources of our country. So, ginagrantan to sila ang private sector, no, nga tagaan siya, dili lang sila privilege because they are licensee and permitted sila, but also they are a beneficiary partner. And next is, what do we mean by Philippine water? So, including kanang sapa, bay, ponds, tanan na nakapalibot na tubig sa tuwa is that's what we call Philippine water. Baga na sa tong area, territory na to. And next is, what is exclusive economic zone? So, exclusive economic zone in an area beyond, not adjacent the territorial sea, which is not beyond 200 nautical miles from our territory. Next is, we will talk about the management, development, and conservation of fishery and aquatic resources. So these are the following: management, development, and conservation of fishery and aquatic resources. First is the use of exploitation of the fishery and aquatic resources in Philippines water shall be reserved exclusively to Filipinos. Research and survey activity may be allowed in strict regulation for purely research, scientific, and technological educational purposes that would be benefit to Filipino citizens. So, the kanina management, so RA 550, which is nagka-focus siya sa paggamit sa exploitation and aquatic resources, no? Dili lang kayo siya sa exclusively sa tuwa lang yun siya kita ang beneficiary na mugamit na nga na, and if kung naay tagalan country nga magkandak og research and survey, they would be under the strict compliance and regulation. And also, the purpose is only be the research and scientific, technological, and educational purposes only that would be benefited to us. And next is the Department of Agriculture. The DA will issue such number of licenses, permits for the conduct of fishery activities subject to the limits of maximum sustainable yield of the resource as determined by the scientific study as best available evidence. Preference will be given to the resource user is the local. Next is the DA also may prescribe the limitation of quota, total quantity of fish captured specified period of time, and specified based on the best available evidence such as catch calling and per species fish whenever necessary and practicable. So the DA may also prescribe the limitation quota of the quantity of fish captured. So kumbaga nakalimit lang siya, and nakalimit lang ilang sa itong mga fisher folk kung pila lang kabuk ilang pangisdaon, and mag-declare ang limitation, ang DA o limitation kung sa lang na species ang ilang baon, which is kung naigikuan ng DA nga kaniya na species is endangered na, and gamay na lang sila, is prohibited sila na baon. And next is the DA Secretary may declare closed season and any all other in all Philippine waters outside the boundary of municipal water in bays for conservation and ecological purposes. The Secretary may include water under the jurisdiction of the Secretary, special emergency municipal water bays and other areas reserved for the use of municipal fisherfolk in areas to be covered by the closed season. So, ang DA mag-declare of closed season if kung ato ang mga aquatic resources is nag-fertile or na endangered or threatened or gamay na lang sila, so mana mag-declare ang DA of closed season. So next is, so what do you mean by closed season? Is a period of during which the taking of specified fisheries species by the specified fishing gear or prohibited in specified and or in area in Philippine waters. So kumbaga na siya limitation, no, gina-limit siya, gina-prohibited siya nga, na-prohibit siya nga bawal magkuha o banana if kung naka-season. So next is the no foreign finfish of mollusks or other aquatic plants should be introduced in the Philippines water without the ecological, biological, and environment.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I will be going to report the remaining topic of this chapter 4, which is the maximum sustainable yield and total allowable catch. So maximum sustainable yield, or the MSY, is the largest average quantity of the fish that can be harvested from a fish stocks resource within a period of time. Example is 1 year. So ibig sabihin, ang maximum sustainable yield is that as much as you can nga makuha nga mga isda nga naa sa dagat. So it could be the balance, no, i-balance dapat yapon siya na dapat na dapat mabilin for the population of fish under the water. So it also say that this maximum sustainable yield is dili dapat siya doon ang population sa isa ka population sa dito sa mga isda sa karagatan. So dapat i-maintain gapon ang kadaghanan na imo makuha nga isda, and also the total allowable catch, or the TAC, is the maximum harvest allowed to be taken during a given period of time from any fishery area or from any fishery species or group of fishery species, or a combination of area and species normally would not exceed the MSY. So the total allowable catch is already I think you can understand this definition of the TAC. So to give another idea, or to expand your idea, is that the total allowable catch is that dili siya pwede mo lapas sa katong maximum, which is nala siya murag specific kung pila jud imong makuha ng isda dito sa specific nga location imong kwaon or kung manguha ka og isda. So that is the meaning of the total allowable catch. So murag maingon po siya maximum, no, pero dili dapat siya malapas. So it's also say that to maintain or to balance the population of fish. So next is the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. So this Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources, there is a agency that under the Department of Agriculture, which is the BFAR, or the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources. So si BFAR, under siya ni Department of Agriculture, just like what I said a while ago. So si BFAR is siya ang isa ka agency nga mo develop law enforcement and kung unsa ang mga functions niya ay mo makita diri sa mong PPT or sa libro. So it is created for the purpose of attending to the needs of the fisheries industry or the fishing industry. So naadiri ang mga functions ni PFAR. So first is set policies and formulate standards for the effective, efficient, and economical operation of the fishing industry in accordance with the programs of the government. So si BFAR, so kailangan nila mag-set of policies para ma-maintain or maalagaan nila ang karagatan, no? Kay sila man ang responsible to bantayan ang isa ka dagat nga naay mga species or the katong mga isda, no? So also exercise overall supervision over all functions and activities of all offices and instrumentalities and other offices related to fisheries, including its officers. So, and next is this establish with the assistance of the director, such regional, provincial, and other fishery officers as may be necessary and appropriate, and organize the internal structure of BFAR in such manner as is necessary for the efficient and effective attainment of its objective and purposes. And lastly, the last one is perform such other functions as may be necessary or proper to attain the objectives of the Philippine Fisheries Code of 1998. So, to ensure, si BFAR, ginabuhat lang nila ang mga angay buhaton nga naa sa batas, which is related to Philippine Fisheries Code of 1998, and also they also to maintain or to protect the fishery industry. No, sila pud ang gahatag og permits to all kanang mangingisda, no? Ginatagaan nila permit to allow the person or katong mga mangingisda na mukuha sa katong specific na location, and also they all dahil na sila mga list sa mga naka-register or pwede or gi-allow na mangisda sa katong lugar. So next is na ay mga prohibited acts under Philippine Fisheries Code of 1998. So the following are the acts them prohibited and punishable under the Philippine Fisheries Code of 1998. So sa kaning prohibited or kaning code is under siya dito sa Philippine Fishery Code of 1998. So na sila mga punishable or katong mga tao nga nag-violate ani nga code, no? Pwede sila ma-punish. So first we have the unauthorized fishing or engaging in other unauthorized fisheries activities. So na ay mga following na involved ano nga kanang dimension. So which is the exploitation, occupation, production, breeding, culture, capturing or gathering fish, fry or fingerlings of any fishery species or fishery products, or engaging in any fishery activity in Philippines waters without a license, lease, or permit. So, just like what I've mentioned a while ago, the katong mga mangingisda is kung dili sila lisensyado or wala sila permit to get or mangisda sa dagat. So, kailangan nila makuha og permit or license sa BFAR. So, si BFAR man jud ang mohatag or moalaw sila pwede sila mangisda dito sa dagat. So, letter B, commercial fishing vessel to fish in bays and such other fishing management areas which may be declared as overexploited. And next is any person not listed in the registry of municipal fisher folk to engage any commercial fishing activity in municipal waters. So, sabotable na mo pag kayo ito nga meaning, no? So, to expand po na para sa yung idea is that katong nga tao nga wala sa lease, no? Or walay permit, dili din sila pwede nga mangisda dito sa dagat, which is to ensure they are not have or they have not a license or permit to get a fish sa dagat. So, second, number 2, poaching in Philippine waters. This involves any foreign person, corporation, or entity to fish or operate any fishing vessel and waters. So, ang ibig sabihin nito is mga foreign person nga nangisda sa atong karagatan, which is the Philippine waters, no? Kung ang kanang foreign person is mangisdaan na, which will be punishable under the Philippine Fishery Code of 1998. Third is fishing through explosive, noxious, or poisonous substance and or electricity. So, any person catching, taking, or gathering, or causing to be caught, taken, or gathered fish or any fishery species in Philippine waters with the use of electricity, explosives, noxious, or poisonous substance such as sodium cyanide in the Philippine fishery areas, which will kill, stupefy, disable, or render unconscious fish or fishery species. Ibig sabihin, mga tao nga nigamit og explosives, poisons, will be punishable under this code, which is the Philippine Fisheries Code of 1998. No, mugamit na sila explosive para para mangisda, no, para mamatay tong isda, o dali sila makakuha through explosive, poison, or electricity, no. Mostly na ako makita sa social media is they are now using electricity to easy catch the fish, no. And any person, corporation, or entity possessing, dealing in, selling, or any manner disposing of any fish or fisheries species which have been illegally caught, taken, or gathered. So, ang ibig sabihin nito is to those person who selling a fish or kanang mga isda nga murag ginabawal nga kwaon and ginabaligya nila to other person to gain money, no. And mere possession of explosives, noxious, or poisonous substance or electric fishing devices for illegal fishing. So just like what I mentioned a while ago, it still be punishable under or under code or under Philippine Fishery Code of 1998. no? And actual use of explosive, noxious or poisonous substance of electronic devices for illegal fishing. Still the same thoughts yapon siya. Number 4, use of fine mesh net. It involves any person fishing using nets with mesh smaller than which may be fixed by the DA or the Department of Agriculture. So, sa fish net na aji ka ng specific na gamiton, no? Dili tong gagmay nga ilang ginagamit na fish net. Kay ang kanang mong gagmay ang ilahang mesh or katong giingon ako nga fish net. Pag gamay to is dili siya pwede mo gamit ato. Kay makuha tong mga gagmay nga isda which is ginabawal or dili siya pwede kuon para ang katong gagmay nga isda is moto ang musunod na pod nga muhatag og kadaghanan sa ilahang kadaghanan nila, no? So dili siya ginaalaw, so dili siya pwede gamiton. Pwede ka magamit og mesh net pero katong dagko lang nga ilahang murag iyang buslot nga makaagi or madakpan dito ang isda, no? And number 5, use of active gear in the municipal waters and bays and other fishery management areas. This involves the use of active fishing gears and fishing in municipal waters and in all bays as well as other fishery management areas. Active fishing gears are fishing devices characterized by gear movements in order the pursuit of the target species by towing, lifting, and pushing the gears surrounding, covering, dredging, pumping, and scaring the target species in impoundments such as but not limited to troll, purse, seines, Danish seines or seines, bag nets, paling, drift gill net, and tona long line. Number 6, coral exploitation and exportation. It involves any person of corporation gathering, processing, selling, or exporting ordinary precious and semi-precious corals whether raw or processed form except for scientific or research purposes. So these corals is to those person who will be selling corals, no, or kinsa tong madakpan nga namaligya og corals labo na tong mga precious o katong mga semi-precious corals is ginabawal siya nga kuwaon or ibaligya or ginatapok lang, no, kanang for tawag kanang for display purposes sa mong balay. So dili siya pwede, no. It can be punished under this Philippine Fishery Codes of 1998. So number 7, murami other methods and gear destructive to corals, reef, and other marine habitats. It involves any person fishing with gear method that destroy coral reefs, seagrass beds, and other fishery marine life habitat as determined by the DA. No? Sa diri nga part is katong mga tao nga nagamit og mga kagagamitan nga makaguba og corals, no, nga naa sa dagat. It's obvious naman, so sa dagat yun ang corals. So kung kinsa tong madakpan or kung kinsa tong gaguba or gadestroy sa coral will be punished under this Philippine Fisheries Code of 1998. And next, number 8, illegal use of super lights, no? Katong mga tao nga gamit og ani nga super lights in municipal waters will be punished under this code, no? Katong super lights nga katong kusog digim siga no aron mo duol tong mga isda, no, dili siya gina-allow. There is a batas for the code which is katong gina-mention ako balik-balik. And number 9, conservation of mangroves. So this it means this to those person na ginahimo fish ponds ang katong mangroves, no, for other purposes. ginabawal na siya. And number 10, fishing in overfish area and during close season. It involves any person fishing in overfish area and during close season. No, ang ibig sabihin nito is katong gapanakop tabog isda or na like overfish area ba, no, dili na siya katong sakop sa area, so di siya po siya og kanang panguha gyapon during close season as well. So number 11, fishing and fishery reserves, refuge and sanctuaries. It involves any person fishing in fishery areas declared by the DA as fishery reserves, refuge and sanctuaries. No, ang naay specific areas ginadeklara sa Department of Agriculture na kani is for reserve lang siya. So dili siya pwede kung ano mga isda, no, murag sa kanina code is gina-maintain ang kalagahan sa mga isda o katong nasa tubig dagat o katong nasa dagat, no, ginaprotektahan nila tong narituan. And number 12, fishing or taking of rare, threatened or endangered species, and involves a person fishing or taking rare, threatened or endangered species is listed in the sites or the CITS and as determined by the Department of Agriculture. It's already sabotable kay katong mga endangered species is mabilang na lang sila o katong mga threatened. So ginapalagahan kapon sa Department of Agriculture to balance the economy, no, o malaghan gyapon sila and dili sila to be not will be going to be extinct, no. So number 13, capture of sabalo or and other breeders spawners. This involves the person catching, gathering, capturing or possessing mature milkfish or sabalo and such other breeders or spawners or of other fishery species as may be determined by the Department of Agriculture. So ibig sabihin to those person na gakuha or ginatapok nila ang mga mature milkfish or katong ginatawag nga sabalo, no, ginapanish gyapon na siya and it's already under the Philippine FishiriesCode. Number 14, violation of catch ceilings. This involves any person to fish in violation of the catch ceilings as determined by the Department of Agriculture. It's already sabotables of that meaning. So last 15, aquatic pollution. This involves any person engaging in aquatic pollution. Aquatic pollution is the introduction by human or machine, directly or indirectly, of substances of energy to the aquatic environment which result or is likely to result in such deleterious effects as to harm living and non-living aquatic resources. So sa word nga aquatic pollution, it already involves the person, no, na like dili lang na considered tong dagat. It involves or it includes the rivers, lakes, no, kung kinsa tong mga tao or kinsa tong mga katong mga tao nga galabay og mga chemicals, mga basura, mga inana, no, na like makadao sa isa ka rivers, lakes or dagat which cause to harm for our environment, no. And that is my presentation, and the next reporter will be going to discuss the RA 7586, and that's my report, and thank you.
Mabuhay ug madayaw. My name is Norlin S. Lungsod and I am the next reporter. So my topic is all about the RA 7586. So this is RA's National Integrated Protection Area System Act of 1992. So, design ni siya by the former President Corazon C. Aquino on June 1, 1992. So, this act is, it's ensure that the country's biological diverse and unique ecosystems are protected, managed, and conserved for the benefit of present and future generations. So, this is, kanin siya, ang iyahang marag component niya is, ang mga protected areas, iyang gimuragi buogod para mabuhata, para ma-protected ang areas under sa one legal and management framework. So, under this, the next one is the INIPAS, the Extended National Integrated Protection Areas System Act of 1992. But this title is Act of 2018, the INIPAS Extended. So, this is signed by the former President Rodrigo Roa Duterte on June 22, 2018. So, while this NIPAS naman is, ang ilahang wala ka siya big difference, God. Okay. Ang NIPAS is extended lang man siya. For example, ang NIPAS is ginaprotect niya ang mga certain areas kay para mabuhatag legal and management framework. While ang kani NIPAS is mag-extend niya sa iyahang kabuuan good para ma-protected niya mga certain areas para sa present and future generations Japan. So like the same Japan siya thought, but lahi sila title lang, and then gi-extend lang ni former Rodrigo Roa Duterte ang kanyo niya na Republic Act na iyang design. And the next is the classification of species. So ang endemic species is evolved to survive under the unique environment conditions of their specific area. So, mao ni siya ang mga species na mutubo sa isa ka lugar mismo. For example, our Philippine tarsier. Mutubo na siya, nag-evolve na siya through sa tua mismo. Dili siya kanang imported, gi-trade sa lain-lain na country or basta kasi sa tua mismo na country. And then the next one is exotic species. So, mao ni siya ang exotic species kay kanang mag-originates from a different geographic region and is brought into a new environment through human activities such as trade, travel, or transportation. So, kani siya, ang big example anis ang tilapia. Ang tilapia came from Africa. And then, gi-introduce siya sa Philippines through aquaculture. So, now makita na itong mga tilapia, mas asan na ito makita. Especially sa mga basakan area. Dara na sila murag kanang big good kayo ay lang production or kanang sa mga fish pond ba ang sabay ng tawagan na sa kana. And then the next one is the invasive alien species, IAS. So kani sila mga nitong mga plants, animals, or microorganisms that are introduced intentionally or accidentally outside their natural range and cause harm to the environment, economy, or human health. So, kanin naman sila is the same yung po siya thoughts sa the exotic species. But, ilang difference only is, ang kanin siya na species is naa siya murag na negative side. Kaya makakos siya harm sa other species like that, good. And then, big example, ang janitor fish from South America. So, kanin siya kay iyang ginadamage ang mga fish cages. And makipag-compete siya sa mga native fishes. So, agawa na sila nature good nga na ilahang And then, the fourth one is protected species. More sila itong mga recognized as being vulnerable, threatened, or endangered, and laws are enacted to ensure their survival and conservation, like hunting, trading. Kani siya is, big example ang Philippine eagle. So, sa tumadungog, especially sa social media, kita na to na ang Philippine eagle is endangered na dyan siya. And then, gamay na lang ang kanang mga eagle na lupad-lupad sa tong area. If na ang maglupad-lupad, is naman na sila mga tracker, di ba ginabota? Murag pag wala sila sa wild, mga pila lang ka months ata, or ambot months or year, something anak, kay mamatay sila. Ilan na lang na-detect sa ilahang tracker na kani siya na ibon is wala nagalupad. And then makita dito namatay na, either gipana ba, gibaril ba, unsa ba na dira gipag-hunt ba na sila. So mao na ang kanang example na to sa protected species. And the last one is the threatened species. Mga itong mga naga-face of significant risk from habitat loss, hunting, pollution, climate change, invasive species, or other human and natural pressures. Ang ani is, ako mahatag ng example like the dogong. Sa unang panahon, like mga stories to mga ginikanan, especially sa mga tutag dagat, makita sila dogong, kahit buntag pa daw hapon, mapakita daw na. Pero sa tuang generation karon is, rare kaya ka makakita og dogong na magpakita sa mong buntag or hapon ba. Kagabiin na sila gagawas. I don't know unsay mga scientific explanation about that. Pero pansin ako if gabi sila gagawas, i-feel nila mas safe sila basta gabi. Para sa ako So, mauna ako ang report and then that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I am Jaxuri A. Govilo. Today I'm going to discuss about prohibited acts within protected area under INIPAS Act of 2018. So first is hunting, collecting, or processing wildfire or their byproducts without a permit. Cutting or gathering timber without authorization. Possessing and transporting timber, forest products, or wildfire from the area. Using fishing or harvesting methods that harm coral reefs, seagrass, beads, or habitats. Dumping or using toxic hazardous or non-biodegradable substances. Operating motorized vehicles without a permit. And damaging or removing boundary markers or signs. And lastly, causing forest fires or practicings. Next is RA 9147, Wildfire Resource Conservation and Protection Act of 2001. This Republic Act or a Wildfire Resource Conservation and Protection Act was signed on July 30, 2001 by former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. It is an act that produced for the conservation and protection of wildfire resources and their habitats. So there are the following objectives of this Republic Act, which is to conserve and protect wildfire species and their habitats, to promote ecological balance and enhance biological diversity. Next is to regulate the collection and trade of wildfire, support international efforts to protect wildfire, and promote scientific studies on biodiversity conservation. Classification of threatened species. Threatened species is a general term to denote species or subspecies considered as critically endangered or vulnerable or other accepted categories of wildfire, whose population is at risk or extinction. So there are three classification of threatened species according to RA 9147, which is critically endangered species, and vulnerable species. Critically endangered is a species facing an extremely high risk of extinction soon, while endangered species likely to become extinct if current threats continue. And last is the vulnerable species at risk due to harmful factors but not yet endangered.
So good afternoon everyone, I am Jiansi Donting and I will be discussing the determination of threatened species. Any wildlife species or subspecies is threatened and classified the same as critical endangered, vulnerable or other accepted categories based on the best scientific data and with due regard to internationally accepted criteria, including but not limited to the following. First is presence of threatened destruction, modification or curtailment of its habitat or range. Second is to utilize or for commercial, recreational, scientific or educational purposes. Third is inadequacy of existing regulatory mechanism and other natural or man-made factors affecting the existence of wildlife. Determination of threatened is they evaluate the factors like the rate of population decline, the species geography, range, the size of population and threats from habitat loss. So what's the purpose of determination of threatened species? The purpose of it is para maklarify or maklasify ang species based on their level of risk. Second is para to inform and guide conservation strategies and protective measure. And lastly is to help track the health and diversity and monitor change over time. So, Prohibited acts against wildlife resources and their habitats. According to the RA 9147, it is unlawful for any person to willingly, fully and knowingly exploit wildlife resources and their habitats or undertake the following acts. First is to killing and destroying wildlife species except in the following instance. So, there are jud ka ng mga bawal or prohibited sa wildlife resources o habitats, but it depends lang, dili siya tanan naay circumstances or naay accepted gihapon in that specific habitats. So, killing and destroying wildlife species except in the following instance. First is when it is done as part of the religious rituals or established tribal groups or indigenous cultural communities. So, dili namanggoy some kanang naisam na religious na it is not prohibited for them to kill or to injure or to basta dili kanang prohibited sa ila or dili bawal sa ila nga mopatay og any kanang wildlife resources or animals if kanang connected to sa ilahang religion. Second is when the wildlife is afflicted with an incurable community's disease. So kanang dili siya ay pwede gyapon siya ay dili siya prohibited if kana nga wildlife is communicate siya sa disease. Third is when it is deemed necessary to put an end to the misery suffered by the wildlife. Fourth is when it is done to prevent an imminent danger to the life or limb of a human being. And lastly, when the wildlife is killed or destroyed after it has been used in authorized research of experiment. So na as we can notice sa atong naibalan, there are circumstances or there are situation na pag naay isa ka animal ga-experimentohan sa mga doctors, dili siya prohibited or dili siya bawal kay kanang naman po siya kanang process na ginabuhat sa mga doctor or nakalegal basta legal siya nga nasa consent na pwede sila mag-kill og mga wildlife if during or pag nasa research or experiment or gina-experimentohan nila nga isa ka species. Second is inflicting injury which cripply and or impairs the reproduction system of wildlife species. So, bawal po na siya. Third one is affecting any of the following acts in the critical habitats. First is dumping of waste product detrimental to wildlife. Kanang paglabay og mga basura nga which is pwede maka-affect sa mga wildlife or not even dili lang sa mga wildlife as for human and any floral or fauna na mga species. Second is squatting or otherwise occupying any portion of the critical habitat. Third is mineral exploration and or extraction. Third is burning, bawal na siya. Third is logging and quarrying. fourth is reintroduction or restocking of wildlife resources, bawal na siya. Trading of wildlife, kanang selecting or hunting or possessing wildlife, their byproduct and derivatives, kanang maghunting-hunting o kanang mga wild animals, bawal pud na siya. Gathering or destroying of active nest trees, house plants, and the like. And lastly is maltreating and or inflicting other injuries not covered by the preceding paragraph and transporting of wildlife. So, if wala kay authority or wala kay legal process na ipakita during pagpangutanon ka, dili jud ka required or dili ka hatagan og permission na mag-transport og mga wildlife or whatsoever. And that's all. Thank you.